This is the Celebrity Josh Show, or Celebrity Josh, or whatever the heck I'm calling it. I'm your host, Josh Rackless. Maybe I'll come up with a new name. I might call myself Spark, and then this will be like Spark University. I keep threatening to do that every episode, and I'm just too lazy to commit. Well, that's not lazy. I don't know what that is. Fear of commitment. But maybe our guest today, the famous Jason Sherman, can help me out.
Jamin, that's a cool name.
Yeah, what did I call you?
Jamin.
Jamin.
That's my alien. That's my alien name.
That's cool. Yeah. There you go. That's how most names these days, like the kids all have just a combination of two names, like Ashley and Jessica. So you're Ashika or something. I just made that one up, but it's stuff like that.
If I ever have a kid, I'm going to name him Jamin.
Jamin. See, oh my God.
Look at that.
We could make a kid together. I don't know how it all works. So what is it? September 14th?
Yep.
All right. I just like to say the date, 2021. It's like 1:30 p.m.-ish. And we're doing this. Where are you? Are you in Philadelphia?
Philadelphia, man. Home of City of Brotherly Love.
Excellent. I'm in Ottawa, Canada. What I know about Philadelphia is they make cream cheese and Rocky statues, and Tom Hanks had AIDS there. That's all I know.
Yeah, he did. You forgot cheesesteaks. Cheesesteaks are the big one.
Oh yeah, Philadelphia cheesesteaks.
That's the one.
Those are Philly cheesesteaks. Yeah, they've got those. I think they've got like places in Toronto. Like you get anyways, you see them everywhere. I don't know why it's called Philly cheesesteaks.
Probably not that good, but yeah.
No, we're not the originals. But basically, there was a place. What is it called? I don't know. I used to go to this mall like 20 years ago with my girlfriend, and it was kind of like a sub, like a bun with. I guess it was like a Philly cheesesteak.
Like
maybe it's just called cheese. Yeah, I mean, you get chicken or you could get beef, and they were just so delicious with the fried onions and everything.
So they tried to copy it. All right, I'll give them an A for effort.
We're doing it. So that's what you guys have, because like Chicago is pizza, and I guess New York is pizza. Yeah. You got sandwiches with cheesesteaks. All right. Well, that's good. And so if anybody's watching this on YouTube, you can see this, and if you're listening on the podcast, you can hear this. And my laptop is at Apple, so I'm recording this on my phone in Skype. And Jason was just saying he had to download Skype again. He hasn't used it for a while, so we're going old school.
Well, we were talking about maybe connecting on MySpace, right? First you said Friendster.
Yes.
Which I definitely haven't used in over 20 years.
Yeah, I messaged him.
We could have tried an AOL chat room.
AOL, see, I was going to throw those out because, he said I haven't downloaded Skype for a while, so I messaged him like a message you on Friendster if that's easier, and he's like, oh, maybe at least MySpace. So I don't even know, what cultural references to throw out to people because, if they're younger than me, they might be like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not funny.
I think the line would have been crossed if you said the Pony Express. That would have been like,
Right. You'd be like, okay, yeah, if I was going to send you a telegram or
Morse code.
Morse code, yeah. It's like, let's read. Where did I see that in a movie recently? I don't know. Maybe that movie with Benedict Cumberbatch where he's like decoding the World War II things.
That was good. They also used it in For All Mankind, the new space show. They were trying to send a code to the space station on the moon, and they were using Morse code through the lights. It was pretty cool.
Oh, cool. And isn't that what who was it?
Joel Kinnaman, the guy from Altered Carbon, one of my favorite shows of all time.
No, I like that guy. I think that's the first thing I saw him in. Like I knew he was in RoboCop, the new one, but I never saw that. Oh, maybe I saw him in the Suicide Squad. I'm like,
he was in that too. Yeah,
but and then when I saw Altered Carbon, I was like, oh, I like this guy. I'm in love with this guy.
Rick Flag. I couldn't believe he died. I was kind of upset.
Whoa.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Figured everybody's seen it by now.
The new one? No. Why would we have seen the new one by now?
I don't know. I saw it.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, I have not seen it. I guess I'm still mad at who's the director? Starts with J, maybe?
I didn't take a look at that.
Well, it's the guy who got canceled like years ago. He was supposed to.
Oh, right.
Guardians of the Galaxy guy.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
They dug up James Gunn. They dug up, old tweets of him from 10 years ago where he's making off-color jokes. But because he's like a liberal and hates Trump, then he's allowed to come back and do his superhero movies again. I think he's doing the next Guardians again too. So everybody's fine with it.
Speaking of these canceled people through tweets, like, don't you think if you start to become well known, you would just purge your Twitter account somehow? I mean,
You'd think you'd go like,
they don't.
Did I do any bad things on Twitter? Why don't I just go through that?
Just hire someone to just purge it or just delete all your tweets. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I know I would definitely do that.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it's kind of like, I don't want to have to do that. Like, it's like a diary. Like, you can go back all your thoughts, but maybe kind of make it private, and then just start a little new account, my Disney approved account, where I don't talk about children and such things.
Oh man,
James. I'm talking about James. But yeah, he's okay now. He's back, and then so he recovered. That's good. So I haven't seen that, but yeah, Altered Carbon. I saw the first series, and I just bought my dad an Apple TV, and I've been thinking I should recommend that to him. People say the next season wasn't that great, but
no, it was not. I did not enjoy it at all. I only recommend the first season to people.
Okay, well that's what I worry about. Like, if I'm going to recommend something to someone and then be like, well, it kind of ends, but I did enjoy it while it was happening. So why does it have to go forever? Like, I watched this one series. What was it called? They were in a spaceship, and it opens up with a scene of somebody killing themselves, and then you have to go through the whole series to see why she did that. But it's it was kind of like an alien virus, or I don't know what the heck was going on this ship.
It all sounds familiar.
Yeah, but I don't know if they ever did a second season or whatever. So
the problem with Altered Carbon's second season is that it was not a second season. It was a continuation of the first season. That was the big error. They also completely changed the cast, which was a huge mistake in my opinion. They should have, progressed the story, not went back and, expanded it. It was just boring. It was boring. The acting wasn't great with who they chose. It lost the spark. It lost the magic,
So I wonder, I mean, maybe Joel just got sick of it. But I mean, with the conceit that you're putting your brain into any body, of course, that lends yourself to, okay, let's use a different guy. And we got to use a black guy this time to be more woke.
Exactly. But, and it doesn't always work in the favor of the story, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that was there's a tweet going around yesterday. Amazon Prime tweeted out, hey, what movie do you want an all-female reboot of? and so people have been having fun with that. And I commented, if the story would have been better with all females, it would have been written that way. Unless you think that men and women are completely the same, in which case, why bother with the all-female reboot? It's the same thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, I guess unless you believe that, for all of history, everybody's been so sexist that they would never make a woman movie because of that. And it's not that they, were writing a story based on, okay, well, this is a story about men or whatever. And it could have just been easily rebooted with all women.
Absolutely. It's funny. I don't think I've ever seen more female content coming out. It's just insane how much female content is coming out now. It's almost like every other movie I'm seeing is literally female led. Female lead roles.
Strong female.
Yeah,
leads.
like so they're getting it right. They're doing it. So I mean, I think at this point maybe we can start leveling things out a little bit.
No. It never ends. There's no end game to this. There's no limiting principle to everything must be women and minorities.
Maybe it'll just be all females and minorities from now on, and the men will be gone.
Yeah. Well, I keep wondering. I mean, of course, I'm going to be canceled now for this whole discussion, but whatever.
Yeah, I know. I hear you.
It's like at what point I'm like, okay, there must be still white men and things, and I guess there are.
There are. But they're now having, from what I read recently, they're starting to have to fight for those roles now. They used to just be given the roles. Now they have to, now they have to fight for them.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, I mean, I'm thinking about people who are that, and they're kind of holdovers. Okay, Keanu Reeves, I don't even know if he's white or whatever, but he's still allowed to do things because he's been doing it. Yeah. Daniel Craig.
Tom Hanks, you mentioned.
Yeah, but would these people be
Brad
able
Pitt,
to? Yeah, would they be
Tom
able
Cruise.
to be discovered now? Yeah, like all these people, they've done it. They can be Robert Downey Jr.
Sure.
But was there anybody new? I don't know. Even the new kids, like they just did a reboot of She's All That, so it's He's All That.
He's All That. I saw that. I didn't watch it, but I saw the thing on Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the poster or whatever. And
I couldn't watch that.
I don't know.
I saw the original. I saw the original. I'll admit that.
Yeah, and that was my ultimate fantasy, to be this nerd that this rich girl dates me and then she actually likes me. Like, oh my God, I can't. I would love. I mean, I don't know if that applies the other way. I mean, I guess. I mean, who knows? I'd have to watch it.
Yeah,
but
and the kid is from the Karate Kid, right? The new the Cobra Kai.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, he's the son of Johnny.
And Johnny's the blonde guy, the bad guy.
Yeah. So I recognized him from that. I'm like, okay, they got the Cobra Kai kid in there to get the girls interested.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's why Titanic made so much money, because it's girls that watched it over and over. So
Leonardo, yeah.
And that's what I wondered, because I went to a One Direction concert in Toronto a few years ago, because I just wanted to see what that was like, because there's no equivalent like of a stadium filled with teenage girls who are in love with these guys, just screaming, like so excited. Like there's no male equivalent of that. Like you wouldn't get a bunch. I mean, you could get a bunch of guys like, yeah, Guns N' Roses or something, whatever.
Spice
guys,
Girls.
But yeah, you wouldn't have a stadium full of men cheering for a girl band like that.
Right.
Like guys don't do that. They're like, yeah, we're excited, but they're not teenage girl excited.
Super Bowl or World Cup or.
Yeah, but I don't know if
ours is sports,
even,
maybe.
I guess that's guys excited, but it just doesn't seem the equivalent of girl excited, like crying, like for the Beatles or whatever.
Right, right.
I don't know. So
that's a good point.
I needed to see something like that. Like, I'd be like, if I go to concert, like, oh, very well done, Coldplay. Like, this was good, but I wouldn't be like losing my mind. And then, so my ultimate fantasy is to be in that band, to be, like if at that age, be like just the power of standing there and all the girls like, like I can't even. There's nothing like, maybe I'll one day be like a Woody Allen comedian. People are like, oh, we're very excited to see you. But there's not going to be crying and screaming. I can't imagine.
It depends what you say on stage.
Yeah, there might be crying and screaming.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
There might be tears shed.
Not in a good way.
No.
Oh, wow.
You'll get canceled for that last performance for sure.
Oh, yeah. But
people have to walk on eggshells nowadays, man. I've been noticing. I saw Seth Rogen saying, if you're gonna say what you're gonna say, you got to deal with the consequences.
Yeah. That's I read. I watched a video about him to say that. But of course, I can't remember. There was something coming back at him, like, oh, he's not accountable for anything he said, or deal with the consequences. Yeah, I mean, well, what are the I guess. I don't know.
Some of the cancels I saw, like the one of the guys from The Flash was canceled from the show because they saw a tweet he said like a decade ago, and I saw the tweet, and although yes, it in some ways it might be deemed offensive, at the same time I thought to myself, are they taking it a little too far, or was this did this make sense? And I wasn't. It was a thin line there on whether or not he should have been canceled over this tweet. And he apologized, and all that kind of stuff. I think, look, if you're remorseful, if you genuinely feel as though you shouldn't have said that, and you're remorseful, you apologize to the community that you offended or whatever it is, I think you should get a hall pass, because you said it 10 years ago and you're a different person now. People change, people evolve. You know what I mean?
I mean, society evolves too. Like, because if you thought at the time that this was offensive, maybe you wouldn't have said it, but you said it because, hey, it
was okay to say back then.
Yeah. And even if people haven't changed, there wasn't as much of a culture of people like going after you. Although I remember, like, I'm 48 now. And so in university 30 years ago, I drew a cartoon for the student newspaper. I think it was about New Year's resolutions. And it was a guy thinking about a thought bubble of the things he was hoping to do that year or something. And one of them was like a girl in a bikini. I don't know why. I guess I was hoping I'd have a girlfriend. And then there were letters to the editor and saying this is sexist and this guy's got to be, kicked off the paper or whatever. And I was like, wait, what? Like, 'cause I guess my brain hadn't fully formed. This is my kind of first introduction to this kind of thing.
Oh my God. But nowadays you'd be crucified nowadays, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if the people changed or just technology has now made it more easy to, you can go after someone. Like, what were they going to do? Knock on my dorm room door and yell at me? Like, but now you can sort of pile on digitally.
Yeah. Cause I noticed maybe it's always about a decade ago, at least now, I used to say some pretty crazy stuff to people, like in public or, in meetings and, just joking around about stuff. Mm-hmm. But now if I say any of that stuff at all, I am completely misogynist, sexist, racist, whatever. And 10 years ago, people were saying those things and laughing at them.
Yeah.
As if it was okay to say, because everybody generally said, yep, you can talk about these things. Now you can't say any of them. And it's crazy to me, like you said, how 10 years ago, these things were not sexist, misogynist, racist, but now they are. It's just like a complete shift. So now you cannot be sarcastic. You can't joke around with people. You have to tiptoe everywhere you go. And unless you're wearing a shirt that says, if you're offended by something I say, it's because you're watching my Netflix comedy special, you really got to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. That's the thing. And I don't even know if it's now things are a lot of it is just people are looking for things. If you mention anything, it doesn't matter. Or if you're a white male, if you say anything, that's offensive because you shouldn't be speaking. Like I don't know. Yeah.
Even the Netflix comedy specials, right? These stand-ups, they used to be way more out of line than they are now. They have to be a little more careful what their material encompasses, because if they make that bad gender joke or that bad racist joke, they used to get pretty crude, back in the day. I mean, we're talking some pretty evil stuff that they would say, right? Where even the crowd would be like, "Ooh."
Yeah, but that's the point. The point is that, look, this is not funny, or this is funny because it's something that we all know it shouldn't be said. It's shocking. Right. But people tend to not get humor. I remember now, like 20 years ago, there was an ad for I was working in advertising, and in Marketing Magazine, there was an ad for the Marketing Awards or something. And what was it? It was something like a woman giving birth, and her husband was standing there. What was he doing? It was something work related, like working on his portfolio or something. And it was like,
while she was giving birth.
Yeah. So it was something like, to those who dedicate themselves to the work or something. It was something about that, and people were saying this is disgusting.
Disgusting.
I think that's what the joke was, but I wrote a letter to the editor saying, well, no, I don't think you understand how humor works. The joke is that he shouldn't be doing that. Like, his wife is important. That's why it's funny. If the person reading this or writing it didn't believe that was wrong, it wouldn't make any sense. It would just be like, yeah, a guy working while his wife's giving birth or something. So that's what humor is.
Or like he doesn't value human life. He just values his work, it could be anything, really.
Yeah. So
maybe he had a deadline where he's going to lose his big job and he had to get it done. And his wife said, go ahead, finish your work, so we still have a paycheck. There's so many things that, you can interpret that a lot of different ways.
Sure. But I guess, so I think I was trying to explain comedy in my little letter to the editor, saying, no, but the way humor works is that you point out something that is wrong, and that's why you're all laughing at it. It's not because you've said it that means you literally think this thing. But that seems to be kind of what society's about now. Like, I'm taking a stand-up comedy class, and we had a class on Sunday, and then the teacher's like, yeah, you got to be careful about what you say about this and that. And I'm like, yep, that's just awful. I bet
you he didn't tell students that 10 years ago. And comedy is very subjective too. Like, what's funny to one person isn't funny to another, and what's offensive to somebody may not be offensive to somebody else. So I mean, that's the thing. You have to choose your battles wisely, choose your words wisely, and know your crowd. Like, who are you talking to? You know, if you're sitting in a room full of white college students, you can get away with some of that type of humor. If you're sitting in a room full of minorities, you might have to maybe be careful.
Well, I maybe, but I would actually, in that particular example, I would argue the opposite. I think the white college students would be the most woke and looking to attack you.
You're
and
right.
And minorities would be open to be like, we can make fun of ourselves. I think
it might have been the opposite years ago. Who knows?
Yeah, probably would have been the opposite. There would have been like.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. So that's why a lot of comedians, even years ago, like, past few years, they've been saying they won't play college campuses and stuff. But on the other hand, would college campuses even want to see Seinfeld or Louis C.K.? Like, I feel like, I don't know. I don't remember. I keep trying to remember what it was like when I was 18, whether I wanted to ever talk to somebody who was older than me. But I did like Woody Allen at the time, and he was probably the I made. So I don't think I was like, I only want to talk to 18-year-olds or stuff. But I remember, I guess recently, Kids in the Hall was big when
Yep.
I was in university, and we saw one of them at the bar once, and I saw an article recently about them saying, maybe it wasn't even that recently, but it was like, yeah, if we go to college campuses now, like we used to be stars there, but now people are like, oh, who left their dad on campus kind of thing.
Right.
They're all embarrassed kind of thing. So
that happened to a lot of actors. I mean, it's funny. I remember, I forget how long this was, but when the Bird movie, Sandra Bullock, everyone was blindfolded.
Bird Box or whatever.
Bird Box, when that came out, I remember how the internet was in hysteria because they had just learned about who Sandra Bullock was. We of course know her very well. We grew up with her in all the movies we watched, and Speed and everything. Everything,
UV contest one. Yeah.
Everything, right? And so she now became like famous to like a younger generation who just discovered her. And it's like, wow, we are old.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. Like there's people that just, that's who they are. They exist. But but if someone was born 20 years ago, then those people did not exist. Like we're all talking about, like all the kids are posting now about, 9/11, never forget, but they literally weren't alive. So to them, it's like, I don't know, to me, what is it? It's like World War II. Like I know it was a thing, but I wasn't there. And
we were at home watching it on TV the day it happened in horror. You know what I mean? Like we lived through it.
And I was 28 and I still barely remember it. Like a friend you worked with just wrote this long thing about how he went to the lunchroom at work and they were all watching it and then they went home, and I'm like, I don't remember. Like I should have written a diary at the time. All I remember is
I was at home, so I remember it very, 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 very vividly.
Yeah, I remember biking to work. I remember it was on the radio, and I thought it was like just like a documentary about something that happened years ago or something. It didn't occur to me that this was news. I was like, it must be talking Oklahoma City bombing or something. And I biked to work and everybody's gathered around the TVs freaking out. And I remember all I can remember is they said we could go home. And I called my friend Mitch and we walked around on the street and we went for all you can eat pancakes. And then we went to a strip bar and I just sat there talking to a black woman stripper about nothing. I don't remember what. Like that's all I remember. And then I went home.
Mine was pretty bad because I was asleep when it happened. I was a DJ at the time, so I was asleep from a late night. And somebody from Comcast called me to cancel the appointment I had that day for them to come to my house to fix my internet. So I'm awoken by a third party somewhere in India or wherever to say, sir, we have to cancel the appointment today. And I said, why? And he responds, did you not turn on the news today? And I said, no. He's like, turn on the news. So I turn on the news and I see, and I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. And I hang up and then I'm watching for the rest of the day. So like I'm awoken by Comcast, some guy in India, to tell me to turn on the TV as to why. It's pretty bad. I mean, I should have, but that's forever etched in my mind. Yeah. Right. I should have not stayed out that late and gotten drunk.
Is that what you were doing, or you were working overnight?
Well, I mean, I was DJing. So like when you're out, when you're DJing till 4 o'clock.
At a bar, like actually playing
at a club. Yeah, at a club DJing with records till 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're getting drunk and maybe other stuff. Who knows? And then you get home and you're passed out. You know what I mean? So,
no, I was thinking, you're a radio host overnight. No, you were actually.
Yeah, I was a rave DJ. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's my other dream, to be like a rave. Yeah.
I flew out to Toronto in 2001 before 9/11 was the World Electronic Music Festival, right? The WEMF.
Oh.
And I played in front of like 50,000 people out in Toronto. It was amazing and so much fun. I'll never forget that.
Well, yeah. So that's that's you being One Direction. So is it everything I would have dreamed of?
It's incredible. I did that for like 4 years, 5 years, and you just show up. You're in front of a crowd of 10,000 people cheering. Every record you put on, they're going crazy. People asking for your autographs. People wanting to take pictures with you. Girls flashing you for no reason. People offering you all sorts of stuff. Sign my this, sign my that, and it's a rock star life, really. Now, just so you know, after 9/11, it all ended for me, mostly because that industry kind of came crashing down. People were scared to go out for a while, and it's exhausting. Flying to this place and that place and that place, 4 o'clock in the morning, playing till God knows how late. I lost some of my hearing. It's always loud. People are always on drugs. It's very tiring living out of a suitcase and hotel rooms, and So I don't. I mean, I miss the fun parts, but I don't miss the downsides to it. Much rather. Right. It's good to experience. Let's just put it that way. It's good to experience, but it's not a good lifestyle. That's why all the famous people out there are always on drugs and depressed.
Yeah. Well, thank God I didn't live that and have girls flashing me then. For no reason, as you put it. I wonder what a reason would be. I guess to get into a bar.
I love you. Yeah. You know, it was just like, that's it. It's just, I love your music. You know, just crazy. So much fun.
Man. And that was the old, you remember those tapes, Girls Gone Wild?
Yep.
Yeah, like that was the popular. Original. That was the original, I don't know.
Raves.
That was before the internet, I guess. Those are VHS tapes.
Yeah, there was no internet back then. I kind of a little upset at the fact that I had to take pictures with regular cameras, and I have like a photo album and stuff like that. But if only I would have had social media, who knows? I might have blown up a little more than I had back then.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I keep thinking, oh my God, like what if I'd been a teenager doing my little sketches and stuff, or my comedy, like on TikTok, like because that's what people want to see, young people doing things. But whatever, you got to. I interviewed a mindset coach earlier today, and he's like, "You can't live in the past. You guess what are we going to do it now?" Kind of thing. I mean, technology is here now. We're chatting with each other. We can be big with the middle-aged women set.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. You mentioned TikTok. I've been using it for years now because I kind of jumped in early, but it's also an exhausting process because it's a lot of work, right? You have to put a lot of work into recording, and it's got to be really high quality. You got to do the editing inside the app, and you got to get your audience hooked. But it's a lot of work, and a lot of people I know who have a lot of followers, who get a lot of likes and views, they don't even make a lot of money off of it. They might make a couple $100 a year. So it's not even, you're not really making money on it. You have to do it because you love it and because you're hoping that maybe a sponsor picks you up one of these days. But it's a lot of work, man. It's like a part-time job.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and you don't know what's going to come out. It just has to be one of those things that you do because you love it, and you work your regular job to you pay the bills, and then this is something you do. Because my dad is always asking, "Why do you do these things? You're not making money." I'm like, "Because I enjoy it." Like some people watch some people watch Altered Carbon for 14 hours or something. Other people might make a little TikTok video, and that's what they do. So, I mean, when I was 20, I was doing live community cable shows for 4 years, and that was the most I could do to get out to a live audience. And imagine now, like if they could have emailed me and texted me, but whatever. We can look back in 50 years and go, "Oh, I wish,"
Right.
But now we had been doing that thing that whatever.
No, we are doing, we are doing what we love, right? We're sitting here talking to each other on a virtual video chat and talking about cool topics. And we probably weren't able to do this back when Friendster was around, right? It was a little clunkier, not as good quality. So we are doing what's in the present.
Even like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, my friend Tony was in New York, and I was like, we should do a podcast together, and we couldn't figure out how. Like he was going to have to buy this $5,000 software to be able to sort of record live.
Yep.
And even a year ago, recording on Skype was hard. So
yeah, it's gotten much better over the years for sure.
Yeah. So it's like,
and smartphones are only, 10, 11 years old, really.
Yeah. No.
So that's a new technology.
I know. I bought my first condo like 10 years ago. And I remember at some point just after I bought it, I guess, that was the first time I had an iPhone that could film. Like, I took pictures, and then I was like, I'm able to film. And then there was some homeless guy sort of telling me I had nice muscles at the time. I'm like, I could write actually, no, it happened once. And then I came home and I sat in the lobby of my condo and I wrote a long Facebook post about it. And then it happened with another homeless guy, like a week later. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to film myself talking about this. I don't know what this is called, but I'm going to do it. And I walked down the street saying, okay, so what just happened is another homeless guy hit on me, and I was trying to look at a girl and he was interfering. And then I'm like, I'm going to call that my video Facebook status, and then it's like, and that was my video face. I'm like, this is exciting. I can do video Facebook statuses about my thing. And I guess now it'd be called vlogging or
vlogging.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And that was only, that was maybe 10 years ago. So it's pretty fresh, the whole thing.
And that also keeps me in mind too in terms of technology. I made my first movie in 2010, right? And it was a feature film, big ass crew, 50 people, big cast, and we had a lot of equipment, right? Lots of cameras and wiring and audio, microphones everywhere. And and devices and screens. And it was just so much stuff, right? Big set. And then I made a documentary in 2016 where it was so minimal because the digital technology had started to really take off. And I just finished another documentary this past year, even less work and crew and equipment, so minimal you wouldn't even believe your eyes. And the fact that I was able to get the movie done in like a year versus my first feature took like 2-3, you know. And now it's like I can knock a movie out in a year because of the digital quality, the technology that's available. And I got to be honest, the online resources to create graphics and things like that, I mean, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, that's great. So I mean, hopefully people learn from that and go, you know what, you want to do something, just do it. Like when I was in high school, my friend Peter had a video camera, so we recorded like a bunch of comedy sketches together and edited it together on his VHS, like sending it back and forth. And I had one VHS tape of all my skits that I did for my grade 13 project, and then it disappeared. Like first year I showed it to some girls in dorm, and then I don't know where the tape went. So then I was able to reach him years later, like pretty recently. He still got the original tapes. So I'm like, thank God. So like we were watching
digitize those, man.
I know. I have to get to him. I keep saying when I get rich, I'm going to say I'm coming by. I'm getting all those tapes. I'm going to send them to, you know. Yeah, I just got to do that because you never know.
You know, it's funny. I recently did that because you can go on eBay or wherever and just buy tape to DVD.
Yeah,
they're so cheap. No one wants them anymore. So just you can get one for like $20 and just put it in, hit the DVD, and it'll record it onto a DVD for you. Then you can put it on the computer.
Okay, yeah, because I've been trying to research that for years and years. So I still have a couple of boxes of just VHS tapes that I'm lugging around everywhere, and I'm like,
there's also a software you can plug it into the computer directly.
Okay, yeah,
cable. You have to put a card in the computer.
All right, I'll look all that up.
Or some adapter. Because I did this before. I found a whole bunch of tapes. So
cool.
Like I said, man, technology, man. It's
amazing how fast it moves. And then even like 15 years ago, I had a girlfriend. She would rent or borrow the video camera from her high school, and we'd shoot a short film together, and I'd get professional editors to edit it for me. But now you literally, it could be like, I'm going to film myself talking to myself now from this angle, and now I've got a TikTok video. So why not crank it out? So I just keep trying to, find people who are grown-ups, because I don't want to feel like, oh, I'm too old for this stuff now. It's like, well, no, why can't I still be creative? Why do you have to be 15 to make a
Absolutely. Movie? No, absolutely. I think the majority of people putting out good content are older anyway because they have more experience.
Yeah,
right?
and they also care. Like a 15-year-old. Who was I talking to yesterday? Oh yeah, this woman interviewed. Who's like 27 and she's got a PhD, and she sometimes teaches kids, but she's like, she prefers like sort of old, I don't know, people in their 20s at least to teach entrepreneurship to, because kids aren't listening. I'm like, yeah, of course they're not going to listen, because they don't even appreciate money yet. They don't need money. They don't care. Why do they? They're surrounded by their friends. They don't need fame necessarily. It's sort of and then even my stand-up, I'm doing it now. I'm like, oh, I should have done it more, but even if you look at Louis C.K.'s early stuff, it's same as mine. It's like, I don't know, you joke about what you saw on TV or some fun, like you don't have the life experience to sort of talk about things. So
it doesn't really matter, when you're doing something that you wish. I mean, look, I wish that so many times that I wish I had a camera in my hand when I was a teenager, but I waited till I was in my 30s to start making movies, so I wish I could have done it sooner. But like you said, you just got to say F it and just move on and start doing it,
Yeah, that's what the guy today said. He's like, if you're depressed, it's like you're living in the past. If you're anxious, it's living in the future. It's like all you've got is right now. It's interesting though. I just saw the trailer for that new Val Kilmer documentary.
Oh, that was great, man. And I really liked it.
I haven't seen the movie, but he had a
camera.
I
won't say anything.
Spoiler alert.
I can't say anything to you, man. I mean, I can tell you this one thing that, speaking of the camera, right? Very interesting. I didn't know he spent his life filming everything. And had a warehouse filled with thousands of tapes.
That's cool.
That's why he made the documentary, because he had these tapes. Oh God, you see the warehouse? It's humongous. So I was impressed.
Well, how could there be a spoiler in a documentary? Like, what would I?
Well, because to be honest with you, I didn't know any of the stuff that he talks about in the movie.
Okay.
It's all behind the scenes. It's all behind the scenes.
Okay, yeah. Because he was my idol. Like, okay, Peter Mann and I. We went and saw The Doors, like in grade 13, and was like, oh, we want to be that. Like, and I didn't know how to play guitar yet or anything. So I would like but I want to be like him sitting. I would sit outside the school, write poetry, and then put little dots on it where I would sing up or down. And then we'd put me in front of a lamp so I'm backlit, and then we put a mop on my head so I'd look like I have long hair, like, and I'd be like singing like the Doors kind of thing. And so this was our guy. So like, yeah, to think that he was at the time filming things.
He was great, man. And I remember growing up watching Top Secret and Real Genius and Mad Mardigan and Willow. Like, all those movies were always my favorites. And then, of course, The Doors came out, and I was just infatuated.
Yeah.
And even with Batman. But, you know, when you hear what he says about what you find out what happened to him in each of those movies, Top Gun, everything, you'll hear some stuff that maybe you have heard before, maybe you haven't. I didn't know any of it, and I was kind of shocked.
Yeah, I don't think I know anything. I just know he was kind of what I've heard lately is that he was a sort of a very method actor. Like, you know, went to really cared about acting, so that he was very talented. Theater. So I guess his first movie was sort of that I guess spy movie spoof. What was it called?
Yeah, Top Secret.
Oh, Top Secret, right? I was thinking Top Gun. Yeah, so Top Secret. Yeah, but he was dancing hilarious. And this. He's a talented, good-looking guy, and all of that. And
Tutti Frutti, on Rudy, Tutti Frutti.
On top of a table for some reason. I don't even know if I said it. So that's all good stuff. So thank you, Val, for your service. I don't even know what I'm.
Yeah, well, that's true. Val, and all the other people who we admire have gotten us to produce content because we are inspired by them, right? I mean, I'm a filmmaker because I love film. I love directors. I love actors. I love writing. I love producing. I just like creating a story that people want to watch, just like they did. So that's, if anything, all the actors that we talk about, all the directors that we like, all the writers, they go through us, right? We kind of are, you know, inspired to create because of them.
Yeah, and somebody's going to be, some kids out there listening to this podcast going, I want to do a podcast like Josh and J-Man or whatever I called you.
Jamin. My firstborn alien child will be Jamin.
Yeah. I saw a little clip of somebody asking about Elon Musk's kid, and he's like, "Oh, how is AEX doing?" And he's like, "Who? What? That's your child? Oh, right. I forgot he named this kid
Roman numeral 3." It is a little strange when you name your child symbols.
But you have to. If you're the richest man in the world and you're, you know, had a baby with a rock star, you got to do something cool. You can't just name the kid Bob or something.
I would probably name my child a regular name, but in binary code. So it'd be like 1001110010, you know, a whole bunch of strings of ones and zeros. And you got to say those right. Hey, hi 1001001001, you know, and if you don't say right, so you spell my name wrong. You spell my name wrong.
But it's just spelled out Jonathan if you know what the dots are.
But that'd be a pretty funny one if you were rich to do a binary code.
Sure. All right. Well, I'm planning to be that rich soon, so I'll start planning my baby names. And I want to call myself a name with one syllable because I feel like
Prince.
Prince, Sting, Pink, because I feel like it's easier to refer to yourself that way. And then
Bono.
Yeah, Bono. That's 2 syllables, but still short.
Oh yeah.
Two is good. Two or one word. You know,
one
like
word.
Madonna.
That's what I thought. Yeah, one word.
Cher, Beyonce, but even better, one syllable. Because I feel like, you know, if I'm saying, hey, Bono, like by the first syllable, I know who I'm talking about. Why do I have to keep going to the next syllable? Why do I have to go Ariana Grande? It's like, listen, Ari, like we know who you are, right?
Lady Gaga could have just been Gaga, you know?
Exactly. And people usually call her Gaga. I was just thinking about Lady Gaga. It's like Lady, like, why do I have to keep going?
Gaga. I guess she just wanted, I guess she didn't want to just be Gaga. So Lady Gaga.
Yeah,
Madonna,
I mean,
Madonna did it right.
Yeah, well, that's her real name, isn't it?
Yeah, but she could have been like Lady Madonna, you know, or pre-Madonna, but she did Madonna.
Yeah, exactly. You go with the one. But I mean, if you want to have the .com, you can't necessarily just be Gaga, because that's like probably a baby clothing site or something.
Oh God.
Jay-Z's all right too. I don't know. I keep researching all these, how people came up with their names. I'm just fascinated with this.
Yep.
Like, where did Snoop Dogg come up with this, or Kid Rock, or any of that?
My online moniker is one word. It's just the letter J and the first 5 letters of my last name. So it's J Sherm. That's my online moniker that I use everywhere.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah.
Are you the only one? Like, is it ever?
Yeah, I've never seen it. I've never seen it anywhere. I've been able to get it on all the social networks. Nice. You know, URL, everything. J Sherm. That's mine.
Sweet, because yeah, there's no other Josh Rackless, which is the one good thing about my name. But
right,
the bad thing is that nobody can spell or pronounce it, so it's useless. Of course, you could take a random collection of letters and own it, but
well, that's where that's where you take ownership of it, right? And you take your last name and you turn it into something with one word, right? That people can say. That's what you do with that.
Yeah, but there's nothing I can do with mine. Like I tried being, what did I have? The rack list or something. It was like, it's my celebrity list, but you'd have to know my name is Rackless to know that rack list is a joke of that. Like it's too much. So I'm going to be Spark, and that's it until somebody comes up with a better name for me. I'll just keep beating it over the head.
I'm looking at your name and I see the last two letters is an SH, then I see an RACH. It's like Shrek. Kind of like Shrek. It's like a play on words, You could play around with your name a little bit if you get it, At the end you got Chliss, right? You could put an I in there, make it Chili's, right? You could say, "Hey, come to Chili's."
oh yeah. Even sometimes I'm typing it and I accidentally type Joshua Chili's. I'm like, oh darn, that's not what it is.
Chili's, man.
And then I'm like, okay, well I could get RACHL.is, and
right there you go.
And then my email could be Josh@Rackless, basically, which would look cool. But still, like, 'cause I realize when people have a name that I can't spell, like I was just invoicing somebody at an ad agency, and it's like some long Greek name. I'm like, I'm never gonna know what these letters, Skuratritz, like it's like you're gonna have to look at it every time. I still can't spell Schwarzenegger, and I've looked at it all my life.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
But he doesn't care. It's not like he needed it for Instagram or whatever.
No, he's the Terminator. He could just say he's the Terminator, and that's it, right?
Yeah,
you do have a famous composer's name almost, because Johann Sebastian Bach, right? You have Rock, kind of, right? RACH. So you can maybe just say I'm the Rock, right? Like the Rock.
It's like the Rock. I'm the Rock.
The Rock.
The Rock.
Why not?
I know.
Why not?
People keep saying, "Why don't you be Josh Reckless?" I'm like, I guess I could.
Yeah, Reckless. That's a good one.
I mean, my dad just wrote a family history of the name. We don't even know where this name came from. Probably like a great grandmother in the Ukraine was named Rachel, and they're like, we need a last name. Okay, Rachlis means of Rachel, but so it should be Rachlis. Like it's just, it's not a stage name. It's not Tom Cruise. It's like
sounds like John Cleese.
John Cleese, that would be a good one.
Josh Cleese.
Josh Cleese. I don't even like Josh though. There's too many Joshes. Like I just want to be unique. I got to be special.
You need a stage name. You're gonna have to come up with a stage name, my friend.
Yeah. Well, when I looked, because I wanted something visual too. That's my whole thing. Like it's like it should lend itself to a cool logo. So I thought, okay, Spark. Like if you could type it in emoji, that'd be ideal. And then I tried typing Spark to see what a spark looks like. So in my head, it's like a line with like things.
Yeah.
But no, like the emoji for it, if you type the word, it's just like a little lightning bolt. But the lightning bolt looks like an S for Spark. I'm like, oh, come on. That should just be my little superhero chest thing.
I do have a friend's dog named Sparky. So
that's fine. Every time I say it, people are like, oh, like a dog, like Sparky. I'm like, that's Sparky. Fine. I don't know any people named Spark. That's so I've got Spark.com's taken for like, I think it's a dating site, but
of course.
I got SparkTheGenius.com.
That could be a good one.
Because that works as my mantra, like a Spark the Genius, do something smart today, but also I am Spark the Genius. I can't think of any other words that work as both a person and a thing, like genius.
That reminds me of what's his name, the insult dog?
Oh,
from Conan. He was
is it Triumph the insult?
Triumph the insult. Yeah. So it's like Spark the Genius, Triumph the insult dog. Yeah.
Tyler the Creator, Tyler the Creator, Entertainer.
Yep. Spark the
Charlemagne
Genius.
the God. It's not. These are all. That's a real person. I didn't make that up. That's a radio.
Yeah. Those are good examples. I like it. You're putting yourself up there.
You got to do it. You just got to.
Pedestal.
You just got to make yourself that and say I'm. I just put in my Instagram bio, Canada's #1 podcast. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the legal claim to that is, but I've said it. And then now anybody in the U.S. I message, they don't know. For all they know, I'm the #1 podcast in Canada. Like, for all I know, maybe I am. I don't know.
I love it. It's actually one of the things I like about Smartless podcast. Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes. Yeah. That they constantly make fun of themselves on the podcast, being that they're not smart, which is why they're smart less. And I like that. That was a good move. It shows that they're not the best, that they are not the smartest, and it was something that I liked about that. There's something funny about it.
I think you can get away with it more when you are Jason Bateman, because people are like, oh, your success, you can be self-deprecating. Like I try to do that. Everything is self-deprecating, but then people are like, okay, so you're stupid and like and a loser.
We agree with you.
Yes. So is that a joke? What's your point? I'm like, no.
That's funny.
Yes, I just need to get successful enough that I can start. Because like Conan O'Brien, his whole thing is always like, I'm a loser. This show sucks or whatever. But when I do it, it's like, yes, there's not. What's the joke? All right. So we're 45 minutes into this. Who are you? Why am I interviewing you?
Well, we were talking about movies and cancel culture and coming up with a really unique name for yourself and really cool threads on shirts, as well as.
No. I don't need a red cap of. Oh, did you see my thread? You were watching that? I was like, did anybody see the thread? I feel like it's off screen. But no, I just found a thread on my shoulder. And I'm like, it's coming out of my shirt. What the heck?
If I could only get some virtual scissors in there to just like snip, we'd be in a new technology, man. Altered carbon, I can use a chip to get over there.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
No, I just finished the documentary. Really is one of the things I told you about. And it's actually interesting. We talk about diversity, females and minorities and people of color, and LGBTQ is another one out there, right? Genders. And I made a point. Is it LGBTQ? LGBTQ?
No, yeah, it's
LGBTQ.
LGBTQ. But then there's 2S would be two spirit. There's Q in there now. LGBT,
there's a lot of them.
Q, 2S, and then there's a plus.
There's like 50 genders now, which is true. There's definitely that many. But my last documentary was majority white male interviews, right? There were a decent amount of women as well, but no color except for the indigenous people that I interviewed. So I made a point in this last documentary. I made a big point to include pretty much all women, a lot of people of color, and quite a few LGBTQ people as well. So it just goes to show you how the societal norms that have changed and the paradigm shift in like gender and everything has kind of shifted the way that I now have produced a film. I sought out people, of color, females, LGBTQ, and I kind of shied away from, so there was a professor who was a white man, and I'm like, okay, I could interview him for the insight of this topic, but I'd rather go for the African-American woman who might not have a degree, but she lived through the same type of issue, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, but it also made it more difficult because it was more time consuming for me to find these people. But in the end, I was happy that I did that.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You sort of feel, and whether this is a good thing or not, but you feel like more virtuous. Like, oh, look at me. I'm interviewing an African-American. Aren't I awesome? And this makes the documentary more which is to me ridiculous.
It is.
But
it also at the same time, makes you feel like you're part of a movement that means something to a lot of people. It shows that you support what people feel, how people are,
I guess it's just too bad. Cause like when I was a kid, I never thought about this stuff. I had a black friend. My friend Alvin was from China. I wasn't always thinking, oh, look at me, I have an Asian friend. But now I've got a black friend that I met who runs a computer store near here. He's from Africa. And now, and I don't want this in my head, but I'm always thinking, oh, look at me. How
hanging out with a black guy.
I've got a black friend. Like, look at me. I'm not racist. But it's like, why would I even be like? I never even thought about this stuff. But now it's always in your head. Like, oh, look at me. I'm talking to a person of like. I don't care.
It's crazy.
it's so stupid.
It's crazy. I caught myself saying that, and I couldn't believe it when I was with a group of people of color who might have tried to call me out as a racist for no reason, just because they were angry that I was a white person. And I said, but I have a black friend. or I've dated a black woman, or I've babysat a black child, or I've dated an Asian woman, or I've dated a Spanish woman, or, I've dated all sorts of women of color. I don't really care what their color is. I date them all, ice cream flavors,
They've all flashed you. God bless you.
Yeah, they all flashed me. So but I can't believe now I have to actually say that out loud. It almost feels wrong,
It feels like we've gone backwards. Like, I feel like I don't even think people were that racist. I don't even know what racism means. I mean, it's obviously changed meanings.
Right.
It's just but now, of course, it's not about being racist. You have to be anti-racist, which means you have to believe whatever they're telling you to believe, that people are oppressed or that cops are killing everybody, even if statistics don't back it up. If you don't agree with this, now you're racist for just not. It's pretty scary stuff, and I'll probably be banned from YouTube for even posting this now. It's too bad because I don't remember.
We're being very, very selective with the way we're talking about it, and I think we're also talking about it in a healthy way.
Yeah,
this is a healthy way. I mean, we both have white privilege. We can admit that.
Well, I don't know. What does that mean?
So I had to learn that.
Well, I know you had to learn it. But, okay.
I'll be the first to admit that I had to learn what white privilege meant. I didn't think I had it when I found out that I did have it. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, wait a minute. I have had to work for everything I've ever done in my life. Nothing was ever handed to me. Why do I have white privilege all of a sudden? And when I was told why, it made a lot of sense. And I was like, okay, I understand what it means to have white privilege now. I'm cognizant of it. I will never say that I do not have white privilege. I do have it. But at the same time, most people who don't understand what it means, right, it's because they don't understand the issues that the other people have. And that's the misconception, right? If you're a black person or a Chinese person or whatever, and you're walking down the street and a cop pulls you over just because of your color, or somebody kills you because of your color, or somebody attacks you because of your color, or doesn't give you a job because of your color, we don't have that issue because we're white, and we don't realize that is happening to them. And that's really what I had to learn.
If it's actually happening. I mean, it might have happened. I mean, first of all, when people just talk about things as if the world is all one place, that bothers me. When people say, oh, there's no black people in movies. Really? Have you been to Nigeria? Like, it's all black people in movies. Or there's an entire
Bollywood.
Bollywood, exactly. I was about to say, there's an entire Indian movie. China, like, there's no Chinese people in movies. Like, you could go. There's a country with 1 billion people that's nothing but that. So when people just talk about like Hollywood as if it represents everything, I think that's insulting to the other races and cultures. It's like, really? So all of China doesn't count, all of India doesn't count, all of Africa doesn't count. It's only whether there's an Asian person in whatever little Hollywood movie somebody made. So that's weird to me.
We're supposed to be, America's supposed to be the example.
Yeah, but that's
of the world. That's just that's been our curse since we started just a couple hundred years ago, right? We're supposed to be the ones that are new. We're supposed to be better than everybody else. We're supposed to help everybody else. We're supposed to, set the right example for everybody. We're supposed to be the forward-thinking country, right?
Right. So it's either true or it's not. Either America is racist and they shouldn't be allowed to do anything and we hate them and it doesn't matter what they do, or they are better than everyone else and their movies are better than everyone else and no other country is able to make a movie. So you should be putting people of all races because nobody in India can make a decent movie and you have to put Indians in movies. Like, you're relying on Americans. You need the white people in America to put you in a movie. Otherwise you're not validated. Like, which is it?
See, nobody talks about India, China, and Africa and why they're not putting American actors in those movies. You're absolutely right. Those industries are huge. I've seen some accounts that those industries are bigger than American movies, right? Chinese and Indian movies. So why are they not putting us in them, right? Maybe people should start calling them out for racism. Who knows?
Yeah. And what is us? Like, I don't, but yeah, but of course it doesn't work the other way. Like, that's why none of it logically holds up. Like, I was in some Facebook group about movies and somebody was like, oh, why aren't there Indian, like, I wish there was an Indian person in this cop movie, or there's not enough or whatever. And I'm like, but I mean, Bollywood is nothing but Indian. I don't understand why Indian. That doesn't count. And then they immediately kicked me out of the group. They said, you're racist. I'm like, okay, so you can't even have a discussion.
That's very interesting. I actually would like whoever is in charge of, groups like that to let us know what they think about Bollywood, because I happen to work with a lot of people in India through my technology company, and we talk about movies over there a lot, and they have a thriving movie industry over there. And it's all Indian. So why is that? Why is it that that's okay, but then if we don't have an Indian in one of our movies, all of a sudden?
Well, because it's the idea that, I mean, the new definition of racism is that it only works one way. White
people.
You have to accept the premise that only white people in the world have power. Nobody else has power.
Right.
And you can only be racist if you have power. So only white people can be racist. And if you're anything but white, then you're oppressed. And so anything you do is good, protecting your own culture. So Japanese people, that's great that they can just only have Japanese people in their movies or whatever. And Indians, should only be allowed because they're oppressed by white people somehow.
Britain, the UK colonized them. I mean, give them that. They were under British. They were under British rule for thousands of years.
How many works? It's like survival of the, and that's the thing too. Like either,
and that's the thing about the United States of America. It was built on the shoulders of slaves, right? We know that. We know
everything was. The whole world had slaves.
Was built on slaves. Egypt, Africa.
They had their own slaves. That's just
Rome.
how the world worked. It's like, this is before the internet. Humanity, we've managed to build a society with laws and sort of morals and stuff, but we forget how new and tenuous that is. Like, we're just all animals. And if you take away the laws, you see what happens. Like, if you decide there's no cops, then you've got people rioting in the streets and looting and raping and killing. Like, it's not, we're one, and almost every country in the world is that. Like, it's just free for all.
We need to stay away from the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm not offering anything up as tribute, so I'm good to go.
Yeah, and I like Jennifer Lawrence. So there's a strong female lead that, I wasn't sitting there going, oh, I wish I was a guy. I wish this was a guy in here. Like, I'd like to be her and shoot bow and arrows.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of female leads that do a good job.
Every person on Earth is a combination of a man and a woman. The whole premise that, we all hate women, it's all ridiculous. But what the hell do I know, right?
Right. We're just two guys on a podcast.
Yeah. So you're you're a filmmaker, consultant?
I run a technology business where we build mobile apps and websites. That's my day job. Then I write screenplays, make movies. I just finished my third. I have a podcast and a YouTube channel, of course, and I've published a couple books, taught some courses. I like to create. I like to make things. I love the whole making something out of thin air. Right, type of thing.
So you're basically me, but actually doing things and successful. That's good. Like, I talk about writing books, and Sorry, I'm just trying to swat a fly right now. That's why I'm clapping.
I thought you were clapping for all my accolades. Great.
I'm like, look, good for you. No, there's a fruit fly zipping around.
I was kidding.
Okay. So quickly, so what did you go to school for? How did you get into all of this?
I went to school for computers ages ago, before right when the internet was invented.
So when was that? What year were you in college?
In the mid 90s.
Okay, so you're a bit younger than me.
Yeah.
Well, I was in university 91 to 95, and right around 95, they were talking about there's nerds in the computer room sending each other electronic mail. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and then that was it.
I went to college in 94, and the internet was literally just coming out pretty much.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. I got out of college, worked in IT for years, didn't like it, started doing my own consulting on technology, started making more money doing that than my job. While I was doing that, I was doing the DJ thing. I was writing books. I was trying side businesses. And pretty much all of it stuck. And throughout the 2000s, I just kept building up my technology business. And then in 2007, I decided to start making movies. I didn't make my first movie until 3 years later. I had to learn a lot in those 3 years. That's when I basically I worked with a lot of production companies to basically extract as much information as I could from them and, create a lot of stuff with them. Realized I didn't like how they did what they did. Decided to do it myself and bought a lot of equipment, learned how to use it, taught myself the equivalent of like a master's degree in film from, watching all the old movies, reading tons of screenplays, and haven't stopped making movies ever since.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's my dream. Like I took screenwriting 15 years ago and got an award in LA for my first draft of my first screenplay, but I never actually sat down to be like, am I going to work on this? Am I going to do this stuff? It's always like, one day I'm going to be Woody Allen making my own movies, but
you got to start doing it.
Yeah.
You got to just put the pen down to the paper and just start writing.
Yeah, I can just crank stuff out, and I mean, I've got a phone I could film my movies with now and just start casting them and stuff. I keep forgetting because a lot of people, it's so easy now that I'm just going to film a TikTok video or just rambling, but you forget that it's still, you can still shoot something and edit together scenes, and that's what Altered Carbon is. That's what people are doing. It's not just pointing your finger at yourself and then finger at yourself, camera at yourself. Whatever.
And the Mandalorian was mostly shot in a studio in a box, so you can create these epic, masterpieces in a room the size of a house.
That's true. And I've got my green screen made with my dollar store paper here. So I'm ready to...
You can be in Tatooine.
Yeah. And do you find that living in Philadelphia is good for all your projects? Or you're like, I should be in Hollywood or something?
Yeah. Philadelphia is really not the best environment for the stuff that I do. It's not bad for the stuff that I do, but it's not great either. It's probably somewhere in the middle. It's probably better than a lot of other cities, but definitely not New York, not Atlanta, not Hollywood. I should have been in one of those places pretty much my whole life, and I'd be in a different level. But I look at it like this. Like you said, I've been able to succeed and achieve a lot of results where I am. So I figure I'm happy. I'm happy where I am. I'll just keep doing it from where I am. Maybe one day a studio will come knocking on my door and say, listen, you've cranked out enough good work. We've noticed it. We want to sign you for the next movie you're going to make or whatever. That's obviously my dream, is to be able to work with a real budget. Because as of right now, all my budgets have been $50,000 or less, right? That's just the reality of working as an independent filmmaker. Mm-hmm. You're putting up your own money. You might be getting money from other people as well, like raising some funds. But in the end, it's, you're bootstrapping it, right?
Yeah. I think these days you can do it with like little money. Like some podcast, maybe it was the Andrew Schultz show or something I was watching a couple of days ago, and they were talking about how, the best time travel movie was this movie. It was made for $7,000 in a garage. And
Prime.
They couldn't think of the title.
Primer.
Okay, yeah. So I should.
Primer was epic. That was shot in like a motel.
Wow. Yeah. See, all you need is a decent idea or something, and you just do it. And I mean, you could film something based on. I mean, they've done that now, like just Skype calls or whatever. Like it's just the screen and what's going on. And
some documentaries I've seen lately have been shot on phones. Some documentaries, but that's true. What you want to focus on when you write a screenplay, for anyone listening, this is just from producers telling me, or from my research, from what I write, is you want to stick to a spec script that is single camera. So minimal characters, minimal locations, one camera, real simple story that you can shoot in just maybe like 2 locations, maybe like 2 or 3 characters. Yeah. And if you can pull off really good story and dialogue doing that, you will sell your script, and you will be able to make the movie.
Yeah. And that's what I've always imagined. Like, I thought if I could just make a cool horror movie, just get a cottage or something and just be like, okay, there's 2 people, and then and just like keep it minimalist, or that old movie Phone Booth with Colin Farrell. Like he's literally trapped in a phone booth the whole time.
Ryan Reynolds was underground, buried alive or whatever for that movie.
Oh yeah, I still want to see that one. That sounds good.
The Cottage in the Woods was my first movie, Bucks County Massacre. That's the horror that I made. I got M. Night Shyamalan's location manager helped me find this cottage in the middle of the woods, and then I was able to rent it very cheap from the state park system. The cast was not small, but that didn't matter because I had the location. So we basically shot all around on the outdoors and on the indoors. So you could pull it off. You personally could probably do like a comedy single camera script, like a Woody Allen-esque kind of story, and just make it dialogue driven, man.
Yeah. That's what I've always done. Like I actually wrote, what was it? I had a girlfriend like 15 years ago, or everything's 15 years ago. And she was kind of like a filmmaker, and we made that little short film together. And then she'd entered some contest. There was some director looking for scripts called Pillow Talk, where it was like take place in a bed or something. So right. I wrote out a scene in a bed with like a guy. It was just like a date I'd had with a girl, like talking about what we said to each other. And then I think I wrote 2 of them. It was like 2 different dates with this girl. I might have submitted them, and then I showed them to my friend Phil, who was 10 years older than me. He was a commercial director that I'd met shooting a commercial, and then he's like, write a third one. We'll have a trilogy. So I wrote a third date. So it was called 3 Dates. It was the first coffee date, and then they rented a movie together, and then it's them in bed. And then he's like, you know what, let's shoot this. And I wanted to play myself, but he didn't think of me as an actor. He wanted to get a real sort of comedic actor or whatever. And so, yeah, we casted it, and he shot this thing. And we were pitching it to, he said, you know what, this is really good. We should write like a pilot. So then I wrote like 10 episodes of sort of what it was kind of like, like Larry David on Dates kind of thing. And then he was pitching it, and then some producer told me like, oh, he came in to pitch it to our place. Some girl I vaguely knew, and she's like, he's trying to take your idea. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to be the creator. And he just wanted to make me the writer, and he was the creator or something. And then basically didn't talk to him for a year. And then I was like, what am I doing? Like, why have we wasted so much time? I said, we've got this video. We shot it. Right. Why don't we, because he didn't want to put it on the internet. He doesn't want people to steal the idea. I'm like, let's just put it out there. So we started entering it to all these short film festivals, and we got into Holly Shorts in LA, and we went down there and talked at the premiere, and that was really nice. And then, and then he died of cancer. Like, that's basically it. God. Yeah, like pretty soon after. He got married at 46. I gave a speech at his wedding, and then at 52, I think he got cancer. And
that sucks.
That was it. So now I'm like, oh my God, if we hadn't, if we'd, who knows what should like, why waste that time?
You got to put content out. You can't be afraid to put it out there. You can't be afraid of people stealing it. I've written screenplays that I've seen the movie come out of the same exact concept.
Yeah.
Literally. And I'm like, whoa, I know they didn't steal my concept, but it's dangerously close to what I wrote, word for word. So I've seen that happen. I've seen some movies come out that are literally spitting image of screenplays I've written. So
had you sent your screenplays out? Like,
I had, but the one in particular was a romantic comedy. It was definitely possible that somebody stole it. But Blake Edwards' son was the one who made the movie. So I was like, it's unlikely, but it's possible.
Yeah.
It's not like his movie didn't do well, and it wasn't as good as what I would have done with it. That's the other thing too. You look at these movies, you're like, I would have done way better.
Yeah. Well, that's what people. But the thing is, you didn't do it, so that's the difference. Like, whenever people are like, I would be a funnier comedian. Well, you're not on stage, so it doesn't matter.
That's what triggered me to make the movies that I've been making. Is that I'm no longer going to blame somebody for doing something that I didn't do. I'm going to just do it and F it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least I'm doing it, right?
Yeah. And so, I do like dialogue. Like, I wrote a series of little short films about me on dates, like being neurotic about the environment, because that's what I cared about. And we shot one as a pilot with this other producer. And so I put that on YouTube, and I got to play myself. And that was cool. So probably a lot of that stuff now doesn't really apply. Like, it's the older you get, it's like...
No, but those are popular. I mean, look at Fleabag, right? She became a phenomenon because of that.
I don't even know what that. I've heard of it. I have to look up what it is.
Oh, but you'll definitely have to watch Fleabag.
Yeah, but just in terms of like what I used to write about, like I'm on a date, or it's my romantic comedy on dates. Like, well, at 48, you're not on dates with young women anymore. So it's like more, but you just adapt it. Either you get somebody younger to play it, or you just write. I mean, Larry David still does Curb Your Enthusiasm. It doesn't have, and he still goes on dates or does whatever he does. Yeah. And Phil loved that. He introduced me to that, and we watched all the DVDs together, and that was like oh my God, this is what we want to be doing.
I think that you can definitely do what you're saying. It's not out of style. I mean, what's that one that the Indian guy has on Netflix?
Aziz Ansari.
Aziz Ansari.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that yesterday, saying it was her favorite show or whatever.
Master of None. Master of None.
Yeah.
Right. So he's doing it right now. I watched the new season once again. It kind of fell off for me. The first season was fantastic, and then all of a sudden it fell off. So I think if you keep it topical, you make it funny, right? Dialogue driven, character driven, you could probably look. There's not that many good shows out there like that.
Yeah.
So try it out, man.
And that's the thing, and that's what I'm good at. Like when I wrote my screenplay in class, like everybody's laughing. The teacher's like, "Oh my God, you're so good at dialogue. It's so hard to do," because I just write like what's in my head.
It's very difficult.
And that's what my stand-up is too. It's just me talking about what's in my head, like. So, I mean, there's no reason I couldn't, a Woody Allen-ish Larry David type and just be cranking this out and just embrace it and every day make a little skit. like rather than just every day, it's like, here's the summary of my day, like it's just my diary. It's like, no, let's film what's the little comedic scene. I've got old files of tons of that crap that but it might be time just to write a new thing. Let's write a little skit where I'm talking to my plant or whatever.
Right.
And then just bash these things out. And then, I mean, that's what happened with Amy Schumer, I guess, from her stand-up. Judd Apatow's like, hey, write a movie about yourself. And she cranks that out. And now it's that. So there's no reason I can't be doing that. And maybe you could direct it, I could be like, hey,
I'd be honored. It's funny you said that. My next feature is going to be not a documentary. I want to do a feature.
But you've done features like the horror film and stuff.
That's my first one, yeah. And I've been cranking out screenplays like crazy. So when you write a screenplay, you're writing it with the intention to direct it, which means you're visualizing the entire movie. Mm-hmm. So you're preparing yourself for when you do shoot it. So I'm ready for the next one. I just I got to write something that I can shoot. What I've been writing is not what I can shoot because the budget would be too high.
Yeah. No, don't write your Star Wars. Start small. And
then, they're not that big. I wrote a dramedy romantic. It started out as a romantic comedy, ended up like a dramedy, and it just would require like maybe $1 million. But that's not a lot of money for a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could probably even knock it out for $500,000. But it's just I don't have that kind of money laying around.
Yeah, it's still not something you can shoot on your own. And that's what you realize. You're like, oh, just a few places. Like, no, okay, you've put a car in here. Now we've got to get a car.
Yeah.
You've put a restaurant. We've got to rent a restaurant. So that's why it's like, no, how about your front porch?
It starts to add up. It's got single camera.
Yeah.
Minimal locations, minimal characters.
Yeah. Keep it small. Like, why not? And then just shoot it. And that's what I keep hearing, that, Stallone wrote Rocky in a weekend or something.
Yep.
And so I have to keep telling myself that, like, I don't want to be like, oh God, I got to spend 5 years writing this. Like, I don't have that time. Like, it's just come up with some idea, write it in a weekend, and just, go and shoot it with your phone and see what happens, kind of thing.
It was also a different time period when he did that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, in order to get a screenplay looked at or picked up, it needs to be perfect.
Yeah.
These people, they're going to rip it apart. There's a formula you got to follow. It has to hit the beats, and it has to be what they want it to be. If it's not, they're going to just tell you to rewrite it from page one rewrite. So
yeah, and that's when my screenwriting contest, it was sent to all the studios and stuff, and they're like, yeah, it's not ready yet. And one guy gave me all these pages of notes. I'm like, I just didn't have the self-discipline to go, I want to do this, but I should have. Now looking back, it's like, what have I done for 10 years? Nothing. Why didn't I just go to LA for a month and sit in a coffee shop and do it, right? But at the time, well, why don't I do that now for a month? I still don't want to do it.
You can. Well, if I can give you a piece of advice that I've followed, that I've done myself, is the first couple screenplays I wrote, they weren't great. The stories were great, but the writing itself was definitely subpar. Mm-hmm. And as I got feedback for each one, I learned and then went to the next level and said, okay, now I'm going to write a little bit better. Sent that out, got feedback, got better. And now the last one I just wrote, which is my 6th screenplay, 3 of them I shot into movies, but the 6th screenplay, my 3rd non-shot screenplay, is the one I just finished last year. Definitely what you would consider a Hollywood caliber screenplay that I got really good feedback on, that proved to me that the work you put in does matter and you can improve if you just keep doing it and learning from your mistakes. And then your writing gets a lot better. And soon after that, you're like, well, wait a minute. I know how to write a good screenplay now. I know how to do it because I put in the work. So I think my point to you is, whatever screenplay you got back and you don't want to rewrite it, don't. Take those notes that you learned and start a new screenplay using those notes. Mm-hmm. So you're going into it with a fresh perspective, and then when you finish that one, get feedback for that, and whatever that feedback is applied to your next screenplay. Now you have double level notes where you're like, okay, this 3rd one I'm going to write is going to be killer.
Yeah. I think what I need to do, I don't know. It's tough. Like,
because it's hard. It's hard to go back and rewrite a script, man. I've tried. It's not easy.
Yeah. You feel like you're done. And then it's like, it's almost starting again.
Yeah. It's draining. It's mentally draining. The only way I would do it is if I was getting paid as a screenwriter to rewrite those, you know what I mean?
Exactly. I feel like the only way I could do this is if I do my stand-up And then Judd Apatow says, here, whatever you write, we're making this movie. So I know it's getting made. I'm not just writing into a void.
Right.
You know, and then, or maybe I'll do my little comedy and I'll film little 1-minute scenes every day. And then I'm like, oh, blowing up. And then I'll be like, okay, every day I'm writing a feature. Just because I just personally, I need immediate gratification. And I want to be always producing new things every day. I find it hard to sit there and type on this thing that I'm so lonely, and it's just like get in my own head. I'm like, I can't do it for a year.
That's why a lot of people write with partners too, because they want to bounce ideas off each other. I don't have one, so it's always been tough for me too. I get it. I'm by myself when I write, but hey, you know.
Oh, well, you do what you gotta do, or
exactly.
Maybe I'll find a wife one day and be like, we're gonna write movies together.
But I had both,
that,
buddy.
I had that, and I broke up with her. Stupid.
Yeah, me too, man. We've all been there.
Well, just Quentin Tarantino, isn't he just married some young Israeli model or something?
George Clooney did the same thing and had twins.
Yeah, exactly. So
let's think like George and Quentin.
I know. I keep thinking that. I'm like, and then I'm like, well, maybe I've made it a little hard. Like when I was young, I had all these girls that wanted to marry me, and now I'm like, okay, I've got the point where I need to be George Clooney level. Whatever. What was I going to say? I just read somewhere that like Steve Martin didn't have a kid until he was 67 or something.
Yeah,
that's pretty
a lot of people are doing. Well, you know, think about it this way: all these people that are doing it now, they're successful. They've had a fun life.
Yeah.
Right. They've experienced everything, and now they're like more calm and patient and financially, successful. So now they can take care of kids. They're more patient. They're like, I don't need to go party at clubs anymore. I'll just stay home with the kids.
Yeah,
so
you realize.
I feel that way now.
Yeah, I think we all get there, and then it's just like, oh crap! I wish I had realized this 20 years ago.
But 20 years ago, we were having fun, so we didn't want to.
I know, that's the catch. That's the thing. You think, oh, why would I settle down? And then you're like, oh crap! Like, I mean, I'm sure that's where Leonardo DiCaprio just got to. It's like, wait a minute, this isn't funny anymore. Like just sleeping with every model in the world. So
but here's the thing. I'm also, as a single guy dating, right? I'm noticing a lot of women with kids who are either divorced or never got married. And I notice a lot of them don't want to get married and have kids. They've already done it. They're very tired. They're very stressed out. They don't really want, some of them want romance, some of them don't. But I'm noticing it's not that easy to meet people nowadays because they did what you're saying. And I'm refreshed. I have energy. I'm not stressed out. I'm not tired all the time. I don't have kids dragging me down. So I'm ready for a relationship, whereas they're not. So
that's exactly the problem I'm at. Like everybody's like, why don't you talk to women your own age? It's like, well, women of my own age have, and that's now I understand. Phil, like he was 46, and I was with him one day, and then he. So I guess I was probably around 36, and we were on JDate, both on our computers, and he met a girl who's 26 in Calgary, and then he started talking to her, and then she moved to Toronto, and then he moved to Calgary, and they got married. And that's who he was with. And I was always like, why do you always go for these younger girls? Like, why don't not somebody who's like, oh, some of my own age, I don't like them. Whatever. I didn't understand, but now I get it. Like, it's not that they're bad people. I mean, but they've
the sweet spot is the women in their mid to late 30s, as I'm noticing from the dates that I go on. They're not married. They don't have kids. They're looking for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Because anybody my age now, I've met women at the podcast festival a couple of years ago. I met a woman who was 44 who had grandkids. Like that's it. They've done it.
Yeah.
And it's not that that's bad. And hey, you know what? I could help take care of the family or whatever.
Sure.
It's just my own fault. It's because I haven't done that. I feel like I've missed out. So for them, it's like, now it's my time to retire. But like, I don't have that. So I feel like,
I still want it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the sweet spot, like Dean Graciosi, he's this guy that works with Tony Robbins. Like he's got a couple of teenage kids, but he's around 50. He's maybe 52 now or something. But he married like a 35-year-old who, it's a beautiful girl, and now they just had a baby, and so that's kind of I guess what Clooney did as well. Like you find someone young enough to still have kids, but old enough to be like, I'm not going to bars and
to have their shit together.
Yeah, and old enough to realize, okay, time's ticking for me too. Like even 35 is kind of the limit of safe pregnancies. So they're old enough that like, okay, I've dated everyone. What's left? But you have to be successful enough. In my own head, I'm like, hey, I'm funny. But they're like, why would I want somebody 10 years, 15 years older than me when there's younger versions of you? But yeah,
but they're not established. They're living in their parents' basement. They have a dead end job. They don't have a car. Those guys are still going out partying at bars with their friends or going to sports things. Us older 40-year-old guys, we've already done all that. So we're at home, we're watching Netflix, we're being healthy, we're watching our weights, we want someone that's going to spend time with us. We don't want to go out drinking at the bar all day. So that's why they like us.
You had me until living in your parents' basement with no car, because that's where I'm at right now. But no, because I had my.
I can't win them all.
No, I know. I had my $1 million condo 10 years ago. And that's what I bought, and didn't go to New York because I thought, I could live in my condo. And then I sold it 2 years ago. I'm like, I want to be free to travel. And I'm like, where the hell am I going? I didn't go anywhere. And then I'm like, I'll go out to Florida for the podcast conference, March 2020. And everybody's like, oh, Tom Hanks says, COVID, borders closing. So I had to come back. And I'm like, where do I go? So I've been in my parents' basement, but through the conduit of my sister, they just said, my sister's like, what if you were like gone by November 1st? So yeah, I got to decide where to go. So
it's temporary anyway. So you're good to go.
Yeah. No, I know. And I'll get my crap together, and then I'll be like Elon Musk and just message Grimes. There's another one-word rock star.
Yeah, the Grimes, syllable. That's right.
Yeah,
I remember that one.
Gotta find my Grimes. All right, cool.
I got a bail. This was a lot of fun, man.
Where should people go to you to see, I don't know, whatever?
Easiest place is my website, jasonsherman.org. That just tells you everything.
All right. Look for them, and hopefully we'll have Jason on regularly. Could be like a repeat guest. This could be our show, the Josh and Jay.
We'll do a shtick next time. We'll do a little skit.
Ooh, yeah. That's the thing. I keep thinking, like, if we just write a skit that you could film over Skype, like, it's a job interview or something, and then that's those things. All right, good.
Let's do it.
I'll get writing. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother.
Bye.
Oh, yeah.